going to have audio issues today because the machines are running at full tilt, so I apologize in advance. And I'm also trying Instagram simultaneously. Hey, Nico. Good morning. Hey, Aubrey? DZO seems like what we need for doctors. Yeah, probably, maybe. I'm gonna look at them, so hang in there. But let me get Instagram going here. I think this is good. I'm not sure. What happened? Oh man. I'm sorry, that lathe is terrible. No, that's not what I want. Give me live. Oh, live. Okay. I think this is not working on my new iPhone. Where are you these days, Nico? Are you still in New York? I have no idea if this is working. No, this is for stories. Checking connection. Wow. Come on. Okay, now I think it's live. DZO zooms and need a workhorse. Oh, did I grab zooms? I meant to grab a zoom. I don't know if I did. I'll have to grab one. I'll have to run back. But I'll grab the zoom. I have the primes. Yeah, we'll go into pretty much as much as possible. So it's kind of an unboxing video, I guess, in a way. So I'll start with that. I guess I'll start. I have a bunch of them here with the Meike. So for anyone that's wondering, as far as I know, the pronunciation is Meike. At least as far as our contacts at the factory go. So Meike, not Meike, not Mikey. So right off the bat, packaging is decent. What is this? Support, I think. Yeah, support foot. Microfiber, don't ever use that on a lens. So this is the 50mm T21 full frame. Just put this aside. I will try to get the questions on Instagram. Do you know our care left or right flipped? What? I don't understand that question. Oh, my marquee. Yeah, that's from the mod stream. Thank you, Aubrey. Somebody always reminds me of that because I forget every single live stream. Even during the live stream, the mod stream, I forget to change it throughout. And I can never find that file. Odd stream. Let's switch that to, what are we at? Meike 50mm. Thank you, Aubrey. The image is flipped left to right. I don't know how I can fix that. Oh yeah, it is reversed. No, we just printed them backwards. I don't think the phone lets you flip the... I can only flip it to look at the front-facing camera, so sorry. Mark requested to be in my live video. Why, Mark? Anyways, so first thing I noticed right away is that this is a pretty chunky lens. It's definitely not lightweight. For reference, once I get to the Rokinon, I'll do a comparison of the weight. It's cold. It's been sitting in our warehouse, so I'm going to get fingerprints all over it. So first impression, the iris is okay. It's kind of dry. Not amazing. No big deal. Yeah, I can't flip the... It's just an iPhone for Instagram. If you guys want to see it properly, go to YouTube, because I have a top-end face camera. Just go to youtube.com/Duclos lenses. And that'll give you a much better view. That's showing sort of a top-down wide angle and then my face, obviously. That'll give you a much more comprehensive view of what's happening today. Also, Vazen anamorphic. Oh, I forgot to grab a Vazen. What's your thoughts on comparison? That's why we're here. Mock filmmaker. We're going to compare these. I'm not necessarily going to put them on a camera, but I'm going to give you impressions mechanically for the most part. Just because I tried doing an on-camera review of a lens, and the compression for YouTube just doesn't work well for live video. I might still do a comparison and upload the footage so that you guys can see it in proper 4K, but then I can't really answer questions live, so... So this is pretty small, Max. You said it doesn't look too big. This is a relatively small lens. Usually you can use the PL mount as a reference point. Cost. What is the cost? That's a good question. Let's pull that up. I'm going to go to www.ducloslenses.com. So, Meike, this one. Ooh, it's on sale right now. $929. So normally it's $959. Right now it's $929. So under $1,000 for a full frame, purpose-built prime lens. So the iris is okay. Focus feels actually very nice. Very smooth, very consistent. Nice, solid end stops. That's good to feel. Tons of travel past infinity. So there's infinity, and it just keeps going. Not necessarily a bad thing. It's good if you're using a camera that hasn't been calibrated. So if your lens is spot on, but your camera is way off as far as the flange depth goes, you can still achieve infinity focus. Your marks just won't line up. Minimum focus, the smallest marked distance is 2 feet. That's probably accurate. If that's 2'1", then yeah, 2 feet is there. 1'11", whatever, is going to be way down here somewhere. So 2 feet minimum distance. Not bad at all. All in all, it's a pretty nice design. No major complaints. The serial number is on the mount, which I don't like because you can swap the mounts. And if you do decide to swap the mount, then your serial number changes. So that's kind of a pain. That's the whole pattern on this mount is very odd. I don't know why. You've got 2 screws on this tab, 2 screws on this tab, then they're offset here and then way off here. I don't know why they couldn't just make it symmetrical. There is no dumb side scale at all because it has a almost 360-degree focus rotation. So you have meters and scale, but then you have these white dots, and I have no idea for. Maybe it's so that you can align the support foot, but if you can't figure out how to align a support foot on this lens, maybe you should find another career. The engravings are physical, mechanical engravings. They're not laser etched or surface printed. So that's nice to see. The paint is very nice, very clean, very vibrant. The only laser etching I see is the serial number and the label that says PL. So again, if you need a laser engraving to tell that this is PL mount, maybe you need to do some more research. Just my 2 cents there. And then the engraving for Made in China. That's laser etched also. So almost everything that I'm checking today is of Chinese origin, with the exception of Rokinon and Irix, which are Korean origin. Decent caps, nice and simple, no complaints there. We'll get to complaints on caps when we get to Irix. A nice felt lining, so that could wear out over time, but it's a nice rigid plastic. It's not flexible. I'm gonna try to keep up with questions. There's a ton, so I apologize. Good morning, Unique Cinematic. Good morning, Marcin. Good to see you again. Is that cam design focus we were talking about in the last stream? No, this feels... Actually, let me look at it again. Without taking it apart, which I'm not supposed to, I might. No, this is a helix design. This is not cam. The focus movement is completely consistent from minimum to infinity. And it's a floating design, so this whole front group is stationary and the entire rear group is moving, which isn't special. It's not uncommon. So, yeah. That's probably why they can keep this cost down. If this were a cam design, it would be a little bit higher priced. And it also probably wouldn't feel as consistent. So, overall, this is a nice solid lens. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a helix design. Good afternoon from Spain. Wow. Well, it is nice that they put all the specs on the cap there. Full frame, T2.1, and then a 0.6 or 2 feet minimum object distance. That's handy. So there's the Meike. I'll keep that up there. Get my keyboard out of the way. Hold on, let me swipe through Insta. Oh, the weight. Let me do the Rokinon next, and then I'll show you guys the weight. What lens is that? Your image is flipped on here. I know it's flipped. I can't do anything about it. That's how Instagram Live works. This is the Meike 50mm full frame. I think that's it for the questions. Oh, Mark Benders. Oh, hey, Mark. I never have enough coffee. It's right here. Always more coffee. All right, so I'm going to jump to the Rokinon. Actually, let me keep all of this together. So this is the newest. I don't think I've seen any reviews online for these. This is the Cine DSX. So this is the latest iteration of their photo-inspired Cine lenses. So this line started with, oh, I just realized I'm probably getting a crazy echo from the music. This glass is no different than the regular photo lenses or the Cine or the Cine DS. It's all the same glass. The only thing that changes from lens to lens in this line is the mechanical design, the housing, and maybe the coatings, but even then it's going to be minimal. Coffee can go over here. Let me keep up with questions here. A production company just purchased Fuji MK zooms via Duclos. Any plan or possibility to adapt these lenses to work with the FX6 FF sensor? Absolutely not. Sorry, that just won't work. The MK zooms cannot be expanded like that, sadly. I mean, they could if somebody really wanted to make a unique tele extender, but you'd be sacrificing so much, it wouldn't really be worth it. I bought the Tokina 28-70 2.6. How was your experience on this? I love that lens. That's the old ingenue design. I should have grabbed a regular Rokinon for comparison, but we'll see. This should be sufficient. So it's typical clicky style photo cap. They have improved their EF cap, which is nice. These are way better. I really like, I know it's a simple thing, but I really like their new EF caps. All right, so right away, one of the big differences is this weather strip here. It's a piece of rubber that seals the space between the lens and the camera. The gears are, it's one of their selling points, but the gears are slightly more rounded. A lot of people complained that the Cine DS were sharp and not very comfortable to hold. Personally, these markings are, they're strange to me. They crammed a ton of information on a tiny space, so it can be confusing when you look at it right away. So all of this here, you know, it's kind of confusing. You're looking for the witness mark. It's that little tiny line. Can't even see it right there. So you kind of have to really pay attention to what your settings are. And furthermore, they did a mechanical engraving on plastic, which is very uncommon. And the paint filling is okay. So again, the focus marks are really confusing. You have feet and meters, so they're right next to each other. But once you get down to the closer ones, they're really crammed together there. So again, you have to really pay attention to where your actual witness mark is. Is this lens part of a set? Google only came to see which one? The Meike? So if you're talking about the Meike, then yes, that's the only model so far. Yeah, they're going to make more, but the 50 is sort of their starting point. So this is also something new. They actually now admit technology by Samyang. So for anyone that doesn't know, Samyang is the manufacturer. Rokinon is just sort of an outward-facing brand here in the US. They're nothing more than an office in New York. Rokinon is not a manufacturer, they're a brand. This definitely has a cam focus system, and you can feel it. You can hear it. It's not a bad thing. In fact, it's a good thing to correct optics. So again, the focus movements, they're basically focusing opposite each other. So when I rotate to infinity, all of the optics sort of compress. And when I go to minimum, oh no, they are, it's just moving at different rates. They're not moving opposite. But it is definitely a cam system. So for the weight comparison, let's do that because it is significant. I had a bunch of people asking about the weight. Let's do grams. So the Rokinon, I don't think you can see it on the Instagram feed. Zero it out. There we go. Rokinon comes in at just shy of 500 grams. Whereas the Meike is almost double, 1,100 grams. So even though these are pretty similar in size, the Meike is twice the weight because this Rokinon uses a composite plastic shell. It still has aluminum and brass internals, but this is all metal. So take that for what it's worth. Some people are really going to appreciate the smaller, lighter size and weight, and other people are going to appreciate a bigger, a little more robust build. So it completely depends on what you're doing. If you're flying a drone and you need to save weight, or even a gimbal, the Rokinon might be a better choice for you. Mount options, the Meike, this one's PL, and they also have EF, RF, L, and Sony E for this one. Obviously PL is the most popular. And then for the Rokinon, it's going to be EF, Nikon, I think they're doing RF, but no PL for the DSX. That was confirmed. If you want PL, you have to go with the Zine CF, which is sort of the more cine version of the Rokinon. Okay, I'll keep that handy because I'm sure that'll come up again. I should have put links to everything in the description. Okay, here is my least favorite packaging, the Irix. This is going to be hard to show on both cameras simultaneously, but so this blue bar here at the bottom is what's holding the actual lens, and it's like it's a very cool presentation. But if someone goes to pick up the box and they're not paying attention, the whole thing is going to fall, and you're going to have a disaster. So be very careful with these. The other potential disaster. So they have this giant sticker here that you cannot miss. Lens hood is equipped with magnetic lock system. So if you just got this lens and you go to pick it up by that, it's going to just come right off. And if you're not paying attention, it's going to fall. So be very careful with their magnetic. It's cool. It's handy because you just stick it on and it clicks into place and it's nice. It's not going to fall off. But if you try to pick up the lens from that hood, it's going to fall. So be very careful. So cool packaging, but maybe not the most practical. The other thing that I am really not a fan of on the Irix, as far as design goes, again, these caps look super cool. They're super modern, but that is inexcusable. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. It looks cool, but I would be mortified if I saw that on set. So I get that they're trying to get you to put it on the back, but that's just not how people work all the time. So be very careful with that. Sorry, I'm confused. You said that if it was cam design on a Meike, it would not be as consistent. What does that mean? I thought cam design is the best design. No, it's not the best design. They both have pros and cons. Cam and Helix design are both good. Neither are bad, neither is better. It depends on the lens and the lens design. Saw the new Irix magnetic filters. Yes, I did. We should be getting those in soon. Yeah, Irix, for anyone that doesn't know what he's talking about, they just announced circular polarizer. I think it's just a straight ND, not a variable ND, and a clear, like a UV haze magnetic filter. So it uses the same magnets that the lens hood does, and you just slap your filters on. Pretty cool. So yeah, if you can avoid using this cap, I recommend it. I forget what this outside diameter is. I think it's 95. I'm pretty sure this is a 95 OD. Oh yeah, front 95. So I would recommend anyone that gets these, throw this away right away and get a normal 95mm slip-on. So for the 45mm, that's easy. For the 15, it's not so easy because it has a large pedal hood, but we'll see. Yeah, everybody should get a new cap for this. Slip-off PL cap is also not one. Oh, good morning, Phil. Yeah, Phil, I think, has all of the Irix. I know you have at least the 45. So mechanically, this feels okay. I'm sure you can hear that. The people on YouTube, you can probably hear it because we have a much better microphone. On Instagram, I don't know if you can hear that. Focus scale, this one is in feet. I don't think... Yeah, you can get them in meters, but it's not... it doesn't show both simultaneously. This does have a smart side and a dumb side, which is nice. But because of the design, that means you're limited to about 180-degree rotation. About 180. I think it's a little more. They advertise their neutrino coating, which is the same concept as... I mean, everybody has their own name for it. It's just a more advanced AR coating. One feature that confused me was this ring here. It rotates. I'm not sure if that's showing up on Instagram. I couldn't figure out why this ring rotated or what it was for. It's labeled neutrino coating, so I thought I couldn't figure out what it had to do with this ring until I realized it has nothing to do. The neutrino coating has nothing to do with this ring. This ring rotates strictly so that you can put a follow focus right up to the lens wherever the follow focus lands. Again, though, why? Why didn't they just make this ring a smaller diameter so you don't have to deal with rotating this? Didn't make sense to me. I mean, it's a cool, it's a clever solution to that problem, but you could have just avoided the problem altogether by giving this a smaller diameter. Oh well. Similar to the Meike we looked at, it has two support foot mounting points, one on the bottom, one on the top, so you can put it wherever you want. Again, similar to the Rokinon, it says it right here, clear as day. Swiss design, made in Korea. And it's got the serial number laser etched onto the barrel, which I appreciate. And this, I think, is pretty important. The design is Swiss, meaning most likely the mechanical, the housing, and everything. I believe that all of the optics are designed and made in Korea, which is not a bad thing. I do appreciate that they put that on the lens, and they're not trying to hide it. Very nice iris shape, nice and consistent, nice and circular all the way through. I also don't like this PL cap. Oh, that's what Phil was talking about, slip-off PL cap. Okay, so most PL caps, I'll use this Meike one. Most PL caps use the positive lock to mount. So you put it on, and you rotate until it's grasped, and then you slip it off, or you rotate it off. The PL cap, like Phil was saying, it just uses these thin plastic tabs, and when you put it on, it's just sort of pressed on. It just spins and spins and spins. So again, if you're not paying attention and you go to pick this up, it's just going to fall. So I hate to sound like a broken record, but swap out the cap as soon as you get it. This is not a good PL solution. Speaking of the PL, some of the early models didn't work with Arri cameras. They have since corrected that, so moving forward, you don't have to worry about any compatibility issues with the Irix lenses. What else about this? Weight-wise, it's probably a little less than the Meike. The Meike came in at 1,000 grams. Actually, it's 1,100. Let's see where this comes in. Oh, it's right there, 1,154. So it's about the same as the Meike, only it's T15 and the Meike was T21. So it is what it is. As far as optics go, like I said, we're not doing camera tests on the stream today just because I still haven't found a good way to do side-by-side live comparisons. But they are comparable. I would give the edge to the Irix in sheer image quality over the Meike. Price-wise, the Meike was just under 1,000. And let's find the Irix. Irix is just over 1,000. It's 1,195, so 1,200 bucks. So very similarly priced. There's that slip-on sunshade. This is definitely showing their roots as a photo lens company. Because most cine people aren't going to bother with a lens shade like that. And even with this on, you still have the wobble. So there's Irix. What else? We have DZO. We're missing a sticker. Oh well. Oh, I think I do have... Oh no, that's the Laowa. DZO primes. I do not like this case. I don't think this is a production case. I think it will be different. The foam will definitely be different. DZO has really nice case designs. So I'll just pull out... I'll pull out the 35 here. Anyone that's seen the case design for the zooms, the DZO zooms, oh, is that Brian B. Larison? I assume that's you, Brian. This is not a production. Okay. But if anybody that's seen the case for the zooms, you'll know that they are very thoughtful and very well laid out. It's impressive. When you open the case for the DZO zooms, everything's laid out nice and neat. Everything's labeled. I expect the same thing when the primes start shipping. So, primes. This one's a bit... This has obviously been around the block here. Oh man. I should have cleaned these up before I put them on camera. That's actually a good distinction. So all three of these that I just showed you, the Meike, the Rokinon, and the Irix, these are production lenses. They're brand new. These are proper demo lenses in our inventory. This DZO is a pre-production. It's not a production unit. It's not part of our inventory. This came from DZO. So I have no idea. I think this was Hot Rod. I assume this is the same set that Phil had. Oh yeah, these are very dirty. Well, that's fine. We're not doing a camera test today. This is insanely compact for what it is. Oh, good morning, Javid. Is there barrel distortion on the DZO primes? I find that the DZO 20-55 has a pretty noticeable barrel distortion. There is distortion on the DZO primes, but it's minimal. So right off the bat, the first thing that anybody will notice is the size. These are unbelievably small. So of these other lenses that we looked at, this is a 35mm T21. So let's just, for example, the Meike is also a full frame T21. And even then, the size difference is very obvious. So, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but if you're looking, I mean, spec-wise, they're almost identical. The Iris feels great. It's consistent and smooth. Super speed. What about super speed? It's not a super speed, it's T21. If this was a T15, I would be amazed. It's actually, oh, if that's what you're saying, yeah, it's about the size of a classic Zeiss super speed. The focus, I haven't opened it. This feels like a Helix design. It's hard to tell. This has been tampered with though, so whoever... Oh man, this screw is chewed up. Brian, since you're watching, it wasn't me. These are definitely... Somebody opened this lens. Yeah. They will be interchangeable mounts. I don't think this came with EF mounts, but there will be an interchangeable EF mount that you can buy separately. Overall, this is a super straightforward, simple lens. There's no funny business, no clever things, no names for coatings. Nice mechanical engravings, very consistent paint fill, which is really nice to see. Super clean, easy to find witness marks. I kind of wish that the smart side scale was on this side of the gear, but that's not a big deal at all. The gear is pretty low profile, so it's not like it's blocking your view of the scale. Nice spacing on the iris. Actually, maybe even too much. The iris, speaking of which, very circular all the way through. You can barely see it because I'm working with a gray. There you go. See that? You're going to have really consistent round bokeh no matter what t-stop you're at. So that's very nice. Oh, I didn't change the current lens tag. I apologize. I should just get rid of that. For today. There we go. It's gone. Questions. Let me scroll back through here. The 50 is that small? Yeah, actually, let me, so that it's a fair comparison between the two here, because I have 50, 50, and 45. So let's grab the 50 DZO. Alright, so there's the 50, same size. On the DZO lenses, the only one that's longer is the 125, I think. I think even the, I think it's 100. I think even that one's the same size. I'll pull that out in a second. Everything's the same as the 35. Super consistent from lens to lens. This, who was asking... metric. So the way these work is on the smart side you have feet, and on the dumb side or the other side you have meters. So no matter what you want, you have it. It's just on one side or the other. This one has also obviously been tampered with. Those screws are all chewed up. So somebody, whoever had this, used the wrong screwdriver. They look like Torx screws, but they might be pentalobe. I'm not going to dig into it. Again, we'll do the weight comparison. So all these specs are very similar to the Meike. So the Meike without caps, we had it at just about 1,099 grams, and the DZO 734. So that lines up. It's slightly smaller as far as the materials and the build quality. They're very similar. They both have all metal, all aluminum alloy construction. Both of these mounts look like stainless steel, I think. Yeah, probably. Yeah, both stainless steel. $734 makes them a great handheld. Yeah, these, the DZO, actually, I mean, both of these really, even 1,000 grams is not bad at all for handheld work. Is there any external control motor screw option? I don't know what that means. Please save stream. I don't know how to save the stream. I think that's a setting prior to starting the stream. I'm pretty sure it will go to our IGTV. External control motor screw option. You're going to have to clarify that question. You mean a place to mount a motor? If that's what you're asking, then no. You would need to have support rods coming off your camera plate that you could then mount a motor to. There are no mounting points anywhere on this lens. Really nice 80mm diameter. I don't know what the Meike is. 85, so that's a completely random size. I don't know. I would assume that someone like Bright Tangerine makes an 85 clamp-on, but it's not going to be common. Not compared to 95 like the Irix or 80 like the DZO. That was the wrong side. Hi, Matthew. First, thank you for this live. You're welcome. Do you know DZO picture zoom and primes match with Tokina 11-20? The 11-20, that's going to be tough. So people have been asking me that since the 11-16 Tokina, and it's very hard to say because the 11-16 and the 11-20 are both what I consider specialty zooms. For them to match, it's challenging because the 11-20 and 11-16 are so wide angle. The color is going to be a perfectly acceptable match, but once you get into that ultra wide, nothing matches. Your field of view is so wide. If you're strictly talking about color and contrast, yeah, they'll match fine. The DZO might have a little bit more chromatic aberration, but it's going to depend entirely on what and how you're shooting. But for the major points, color and contrast, yeah, I think the DZO primes and the zoom will match totally fine with the Tokina. And if they didn't, it would be minor color correction. It would be color correction that you're going to have to do in post for regular, any day stuff anyway. I should go get the picture zoom. I'll start with the Laowa zoom, the Oh man, that's heavy. Oh, okay. That's not even fit on the desk. All right, that case, the lid foam falls right out. That's kind of, sorry, this is completely blocking everything. I'm just gonna pull it out and we'll do the rest later. Super cool little spare parts. I like that. That's a nice touch. Screws and whatnot. Okay. So this is the Obviously, it's bigger than everything else I looked at so far because this is a pretty long-range zoom. And when I say long-range, I don't mean telephoto. I mean it has a large range within its focal length. What do you think about Leica R? I'm in love. I'm in love with Leica R as well. I've always liked the Leica R. So going back to caps again, I don't know why this is such a hard thing for manufacturers to do. This cap I have not liked from day one. I was hoping they would change it for the production version, but they did not. It's metal. It's an aluminum cap with a spring-loaded release. I've never liked a cap that has aluminum on the inside, because you can hit the front element and it'll scratch it. This cap is, it's just kind of, I don't like it. But whatever, it's just a cap. Again, you can get a replacement. The PL cap is fine, it's just a plain plastic cap. So the benefit of this lens is the zoom range, obviously. Are those all in feet, or do you get them in metric as well? I think you're referring to the DZO. Oh yeah, I answered that. I don't like that ingenue ring external design. I don't know what you're referring to. What is the price on the Vespid? The Vespid primes, if you're buying them individual, which I don't really recommend, that's kind of defeating the purpose of them. They really are meant to be used as a set. So the 6 lens set for the Vespid primes is $6,500, which all things considered is an amazing price for a set of 6 lenses. That's just barely over $1,000 a piece. So while we're on price, this lens is, let's go to Laowa. If you're looking for the lens only, it's $5,000. It comes with the PL mount and an EF mount and an E mount in the case, which it's too big to put up here, but it comes with all 3 mounts. It ships with the PL. And then they have their bundle, which has the anamorphic rear attachment for the PL model and a full frame expander option for the PL model. That has not begun shipping yet, but that's $6,500. So mechanically, hold on, let me make sure I'm keeping up here. Mu 25-100? Are you saying because it's big? What is the range? 10 to 1? No, it's a 20 to 100. So it's a 5 to 1 ish. What about so one of the cool features on this lens, because it has those add-on rears, so for the full frame rear, you have this tiny little button here. I don't know if that's showing up. Yeah, it is. So you push that button and you release it. You spin it, and there you have your new focal length. It becomes, with the full frame rear, it becomes a T4. Where's the wide end? 35 to 140. So because you're using essentially a tele-extender to increase your image circle, you're increasing your focal length as well. So instead of having to do the math or figure out what it has become, it's built right into the lens. I think that's a pretty clever solution. And you just switch it back. Now you're back to a T29, 20 to 100, 25 to 100. Oh, it's a 25. I'm sorry, I've been saying 20 to 100. So it's a 4 to 1. Focus feels pretty good. No complaints. It's nice and smooth. It has a tiny high spot in the middle of the zoom, or in the middle of the focus. It's a little noisy, but not bad. I'm a little disappointed that this, in the early photos and in the early prototypes, this was a rubber grip, and now they just sort of machined these little reliefs into the metal. Whatever, not a big deal. I'm also not sure why this exists. I don't know why they had to make a plate to put their name. I don't know why they couldn't just engrave the barrel. Maybe something in manufacturing got messed up, so they had to cover it. I don't know. That's purely speculation. I don't see the purpose of that plate. Similar to the DZO, it's very hard to see, but that T-stop, you can kind of catch it at just the right light. The T-stop is a little, almost like a badge that they inserted into the aluminum. See it right there? Almost like they engraved the wrong T-stop, so they had to mill it out and then put that in place. I don't know. Brian, if you're still here, maybe you can tell me. Phil, so strange on the post screw-in locations? What do you mean? The post screw... Oh! Oh, you mean the zoom stick. I assume you're referring to the, I think Phil is jabbing fun here. The lens comes with, let's see if, I'll pull out the other bits here so you guys can see everything. I actually don't see the zoom stick unless it's in this little tin. Ah, it is. Oh no, that's a screwdriver. Alright, and then spare screws, shims. So cool packaging. I like that. Actually, I'm going to switch this out. Maybe it'll rattle less. I don't see the zoom stick. Maybe they stopped including it because it was an oversight. But in the early photos of the kit, they included a zoom stick. But there's no place to put a zoom stick. So why does it exist? Everyone assumed that these holes were for the zoom stick. And it fits. You can definitely put the zoom stick in these holes. But these are on a stationary ring that holds the support foot. So minor oversight, but whatever, no big deal. It would be really easy for them to put a couple threaded holes on that zoom ring for the stick. The additional mounts. There's the E mount. So it's a pretty straightforward process. You just pull the 8 screws out of the PL, pull the PL off, pull off this flange, install the sub mount, and then install the flange. Pretty straightforward. Something that should be kept in mind, and it's become a huge pain in my side. Shimming is not something that can be done. All these manufacturers are promoting interchangeable mounts. When you change the mount on a lens, you have to collimate the lens. It's like changing the wheels on a car. You can't just swap wheels. They have to be balanced, or they're not going to work correctly. And in the DZO Facebook group, which I assume some of you are watching right now because I posted this in the group, people are asking every day, hey, what shims do I use on a Blackmagic? Or hey, what shims do I use on a C300? That's not how it works. The shims are not per camera. The shims change on every single lens depending on how the lens was assembled. The purpose of the shims is to compensate for machining tolerance and tolerance buildup in assembly. So there is no set shim stack per camera. Adjusting the shims and the back focus and the flange depth should be done on an auto collimator. If you don't have access to an auto collimator or a technician that has one, you can do it on a camera, but for the most part it's trial and error. You have to shoot something at infinity, check your infinity mark, know if you're long or short, take the lens off the camera, take the mount off, add or remove shims depending on if you're long or short, and go back and forth until you get it right. Otherwise, it's strictly hearsay. There's tons of bad advice floating around those Facebook groups. People are throwing up, oh, I used this shim and it's perfect. Great. That's not the case for everyone. That's the case for your specific zoom, or prime for that matter. So please stop spreading false information for adjusting flange depth with shims. rant over. Let's see. Other than that, it's not a light zoom by any means. Most of these other primes that I looked at are on the lighter side of what's available. This is not light. So I don't even know if my scale will go that high. I'll give you an idea. So the primes, even the heaviest prime here was like 1,500 grams, I think. Or 1,200 grams. It was a little over 1,000. This bad boy is 2,700 grams. So if you put 2.5 of these together, you would have this lens. Which I guess if you think about it that way, you know, if you have two Meike primes, maybe let's say you have a 35 and an 85, you're still not going to have the range that you have with this zoom. Good idea to hire Duclos to do the work. Thank you, Edge City Films. Quick commercial break there in that case. So for all of these lenses, these are all very budget friendly. They're, maybe some would consider them indie focused. There is no reason that you can't shoot a feature film on any of these lenses here, other than the producer factor, where if the producer's on set and they don't see Airy or Ingenue or Cook, then they get upset. So if you can get over that, there is nothing stopping anyone from shooting amazing content on any of these lenses. That said, they are still a manual cine lens, and they are going to need maintenance. They're going to need those adjustments. And when you buy these sorts of lenses from Duclos Lenses, you get that maintenance for 2 years for free. So it's definitely worth considering. We just started our Small Business Saturday campaign because we are a small business. I realized that B&H and Adorama may have bigger inventories and can do free shipping and no tax because they have their loopholes. But if you're concerned about the longevity and maintenance of these lenses, I would strongly recommend getting them from someone like Duclos Lenses because we have that additional coverage. Commercial over. So overall, it's a fantastic zoom range for a fantastic price. The lenses that I would consider competitors to this would be something like the Zeiss 20-100 lightweight zoom, which is about $10,000. It's about twice the price of this lens. It's going to be a little bit lighter. You could also consider the Fujinon 19-90 Cabrio to kind of be a competitor. It's a little bit wider of a lens overall, but that's even more expensive. That's, I don't even remember, like 30-ish thousand. Cabrio 1990, yeah, 29,800. Or you can go a little bit cheaper. You can get the XK 20-120, which would be, again, a pretty similar range, a little bit slower. The XK is a T3.5. This is a T2.9. But even the XK without the motor that it comes with, I don't even see it on our site anymore. Maybe you can't buy it without the motor. But without the motor, if you can get it, it is still around 10,000. It's still going to be almost twice the price of this lens. So if you're looking for a budget-friendly 4-to-1, 5-to-1 type zoom, this is definitely an option. All of these zooms have alarmingly different character. Oh, absolutely. No question about that. Thank you, Phil. That's a strong point, and I really should figure out a way to... I couldn't do all of those zooms with all of these things. I'm trying to focus on just the new stuff today, but Phil is absolutely right. Comparing something like this Laowa to the Fujinon Cabrio or the Zeiss LWZ3, you're going to get a drastically different picture between all of those. Maybe not so much between the Zeiss and the Fujinon, but between this and the other lenses, yeah, it's going to be a huge difference. As far as image quality goes, I would definitely say that the Laowa is more character driven and less clinical. the Zeiss is very clean and accurate. The Fujinon is clean and accurate. This is going to give you a little bit more character, for lack of a better term. I don't like to say it's lower quality, because these days, things like a little bit of spherical aberration, a little bit of distortion, maybe even a touch of chromatic aberration, they're not necessarily bad features for cinema. So keep that in mind. I think that's all the new ones. I should grab that DZO zoom. That has been extremely popular lately. You got your razor blade EF mount here. That is very sharp. You got to be careful grabbing this thing. So very similar, all stainless steel except for this aluminum baffle. Really nice machining. This is just the EF mount for this lens. So same process. You pull out the 8 screws there, put 8 screws in here. It still definitely requires flange adjustment, shimming. Anytime, that's a basic rule of thumb, especially here at Duclos lenses. If we have a lens that we're checking and let's say this Meike, and just to investigate something, I pull off the PL mount and I put it right back on immediately. It's safe to assume that simply by removing the PL mount and putting it back, I have now disrupted the flange depth and it needs to be recalibrated, period. That's how sensitive these things are. As you know, last week I received my picture zooms with a misalignment mount from Big Dealer. I would have preferred to buy from Duclos lenses, and thank you for your help. Oh, I have heard about that. Yes, there are some picture zooms where the mount was slightly misaligned from the factory. The EF mounts, I think, not the PL. The PL is symmetrical. You can put it on any rotation. Actually, I think it has a pin, but it's not a big deal. The EF mount, though, if you're buying the picture zooms, double check that your EF mount has the correct orientation. I think, who's that? Angel. I think he had contacted us about that. Again, I hate to sound like a commercial. It's not really why I'm here. I'm more here to give you guys knowledge. But that's the kind of thing that it would have been caught and or taken care of by Duclos lenses, whereas a bigger store, they don't care. It's just a box. They're just moving boxes from a distributor to a customer. So why is everybody requesting to be in my video? I'm tempted to hit yes just to see what people want to say. I don't know what this button does. Oh, Brian's, I will have a new test early next week. Oh, with a 90. Okay, I definitely want to test that macro 90. That'll be fun. Okay. Oh, I could do face filters? What? Oh my gosh, Kelsey's gonna be so mad at me. What is this? Turn your head to transition? Whoa, that's pretty cool. I like that. All right, I'm not gonna keep messing with these. Butterflies? Oh my gosh, you guys. The Laowa has butterflies. Look at that. All right, no more messing with that. I gotta turn it off. Okay, filter's off. Good on y'all for quality control. Yeah, that was really the best way that we could set ourselves apart from the competition years ago when we started in sales. And it's kind of put a target on our back. Every other smaller retailer has started offering the same thing. But it's better for the industry that this sort of stuff is getting QC'd before it gets to production companies and cinematographers. So if my efforts have changed the industry for the better, great. I'm not going to try to trademark quality control. I don't think I can fit this one here. I'm going to go grab the DZO zooms just so I can include those. So give me 1 minute. I have to mask up to go to the back to the warehouse. Oh, I have not been looking at YouTube. I apologize. Oh my gosh. Questions. Have you thought of checking out the DuLens Mini Prime Cine lenses? I have not yet. I would love to check them out because they basically stole my name. DuLens. It's like Duclos lens. But yeah, I do need to check those out sooner or later. Matt, can you please convince Sigma to add 65mm to their Cine FF primes? I don't think I need to convince them, Michael. That's all I will say on that. Optically, which is better, Meike or DZO Vespid? I've seen a lot of CA and Vespid. So I will do a straight up side-by-side comparison of those two. From a practical perspective, it's almost a no-brainer. Meike only has a 50mm. You can't do much with one lens unless that's the type of project you're shooting. Whereas DZO has 6 lenses right out the gate. So as far as image quality goes, they're not going to be night and day difference. So I wouldn't make that your primary deciding factor. The rectangles on the rings that look similar to Ingenue Optimo aesthetic design. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. Laowa focus is too noisy. It is pretty noisy. Yeah. It's not terrible, but it's definitely louder than the primes that we looked at. Matt, if customers purchase these lenses from you, how difficult would it be to include a shims instruction per lens that would require you to collimate every lens and their mounts going out? So we have done that for customers in the past. So, for example, with the Laowa, or what have we done that with? Oh, the Ingenue EZs, I think we do it with pretty often. A customer will order the EZ and they'll ask us to calibrate it for EF mount upon delivery. So we switch it to EF mount, we perform the collimation so that everything's accurate, and then let me back up. We check to make sure that the shims that are currently in the lens for the PL mount are good. So then we pull the mount off and pull those shims out, set them aside and label them. And then we go to the EF mount, put the correct shims in, make sure everything's calibrated correctly. And then that way they have a set of shims to go with each mount. Now, what that does is it gets you close to proper calibration. Even then, like I said, if we simply pull the mount off and put it back on, we assume that the flange depth, the back focus, has been disrupted. So by doing the sort of the shim packs for each mount, we get it very, very close, as close as it can be without performing another collimation. But it still requires maintenance. It's part of every single lens. It always has been, and it always will be. For an indie shooter that does small jobs, Vespid look great. I wonder how they would compare to Leica R's being same T-stop. The R's are going to have similar character, but in different areas. So for the most part, the Summicrons are going to have less chromatic aberration than the DZOs, but probably more spherical aberration. Actually, it's going to depend a lot on the specific focal length. Even within the Leica R series, they can be dramatically different because they ranged all the way from the 70s, actually in some cases the 60s, up until the early 2000s. And then you have the age factor on top of that. You can easily have varying degrees of quality based on the age, or how well or how not well a lens was cared for. Thanks for all the content. You're welcome. How does the Laowa compare to the DZO zooms? So I will grab that right now from the warehouse. Any guesses on whether the Vespid EFs will work with the Canon RF to EF speed booster? I've had that question a lot too. I don't know because I haven't seen the EF mount. It's going to depend on how the flange itself is designed for the Vespid primes. That said, It's very close. I don't. It's definitely going to be something that needs to be properly checked. I can't say, oh yeah, it'll work for sure just by looking at it. But I also think that there is a good chance it will work. So, Brian, if you're still watching, I can't tell if you're here. But if you're still watching, Brian, EF mounts ASAP. I would very much like to test that because I know that that's a big question for the Vespids. Being able to put these on a Super 35 camera and have them cover and increasing the speed is going to be fantastic, especially for Komodo. These are going to be fantastic for Komodo, I think. Actually, that's another rant that I have. I am waiting. I so want my new set is, ooh, Brian, I will take that if they're available. I need to test that distance. I have the measurements for the speed booster. I just need to test the lenses. But nobody is making a good set of cine lenses specifically for Komodo. So even something like the DZOs, they will work great with an EF to RF adapter. But personally, I don't like using adapters. If you're using the speed booster, I can see why that would be a huge benefit because you're increasing the speed. But I am waiting for one of the lens manufacturers to make a native mirrorless RF and E mount because they can easily be interchanged. RF and E mount Cine Prime that is T15, maybe T18 or faster. So that has not happened yet. I'm waiting for it. Anyways, let me go grab the picture zoom. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. One more unboxing. So this is a really good example of the packaging that will come with DZO stuff. This is a single lens. When you buy the set, it comes with a nice hard Pelican case, or Pelican style. Sorry, I can't say Pelican. Do you think it's the license cost coming from Canon? No, I don't. So, let's see. Laowa, Meike, even Irix and DZO. I can almost guarantee that they're not paying any licensing to Canon for the EF mount. Rokinon, I think, is, because they kind of play by the rules. So, fantastic packaging. Really nice firm foam. I don't usually like this for traveling. So once you actually get your lens and it's in a case, this is way too rigid. It's too firm. Really awesome stickers. I like that. Support. That's always appreciated. So that's a really good example of the packaging. Everything's nice and clean, nice and laid out. In the Pelican case, Pelican style case for these zooms, it's actually got labels on everything, so it's really neat and clever. But everything's clean and laid out nicely. I really enjoy that. And it's really tight. Ugh. 213 would be very doable on the shorter mount. I would like to think so, especially if it's Super 35 specifically for Komodo and the C70. We'll see. I'm waiting for the correct manufacturer to jump on board. Espin says, I have some inconsistencies in the focus drag with the Is this a known problem? I would say that it is a known factor. It's kind of what you get for a $5,000 zoom. It's not really a problem if it's just the way the lens is designed. By calling it a problem, it implies that it's something that could be corrected or that something is wrong with the lens, but that's just kind of how they are. Will Duclos have a custom foam case for the DZO Vespids for sale? Probably not, because they come with a case that is really nice. If you're buying them individually and you want to have them all in a case that is clean and clear, I would say yes, we will probably end up making one. But if you're buying them as a set, then you don't really need a case. It comes with it. So, DZO zoom. Actually, here, a quick size comparison for the There you go. It's much easier for the people on YouTube to see because they have the top-down camera, but for the people on Instagram, you could still get an idea. It's a little deceiving because the is closer, but there you go. So much smaller, not necessarily much lighter. It's still a heavy lens, but you also have half the zoom range that you do with the So keep that in mind. This is maybe a third larger than the DZO Pictor, but you get twice the zoom range. Almost. So again, as far as weight goes, I'll use, well here, comparatively, for half the zoom range, we were at 2,700 grams, almost 2,800, and the Pictor zoom is at 1,500. So, almost 1,000 grams. It's not light, but compared to other sort of 2 to 3 times zooms, it is going to be much smaller, much lighter. So if you compare it to something like, I'm trying to think of something else that has a similar zoom range. I mean, I guess technically you could compare it to the Sigma 18 to 35, but even then the 18 to 35 has less zoom range. So it's not a direct comparison. Maybe the Tokina, what is theirs? Oh no, that's the 16. What would you compare this to? Their new one, their upcoming one that isn't released yet is a 20 to 75. Sorry, 25 to 75. So there really isn't much to compare this to. Maybe something like a... Oh, the Ingenue, like a 19 to 45. Which is going to be like twice the size, if not more. Anyways, there's really, these are very unique. There's really not a whole lot to directly compare them to. My killer trio short zooms for Komodo are the 2 DZOs and the Tokina 11 to 20. That's a fantastic trio. That way you've got from 11 all the way to, what is it, 125? Fujinon MK. The Fuji MK is a good comparison, but it's a mirrorless design, so you can't really put them on the same cameras without using an adapter on this, which adds more weight and more leverage. Yeah, that's Phil said it too, the MKs. That's not really a fair comparison though. Those have a composite body. They're going to be much lighter, much more nimble than the DZOs. So by the time you add a PL to RF adapter, or even a PL to E mount adapter, you're pushing the lens away from your camera, so you have more leverage and you're adding more weight. So if you're looking to stay light and compact, the MKs are definitely the way to go. But if you're using rods and you have support and all that, then I very much enjoy the Pictor zooms. So mechanically, super nice, silent movement, really well lubricated. The zoom has so there's your zoom stick, and it's actually on the zoom ring. Go figure. Again, really nice movement. Focus, almost silent, really well lubricated, very consistent. Overall, these are just really well built. There's no immediate complaints. Nice stainless steel mount, nice robust torque screws. What else is there to say about this? Any questions? I keep dropping YouTube, sorry. Is there really no chance to adapt Fuji MKX to RF, or is it just an unpopular decision and therefore not profitable to make? The problem with the MKX going to RF mount is primarily the electronics. The internal components are very different between the MK and the MKX. So the pieces that we make to convert the MKs to RF mount won't work on the MKX. We'd have to redesign the entire submount. And it, for the most part, comes down to economy of scale. There's only so many people out there with the MKX lenses. The price would just be way too high. Nobody would want to pay what it would cost to convert those. Oh, this might ruin my stream. Shoot. Okay. Any update on the shipping date of the 25 to 75? I have not heard an update on that. They announced that way earlier than I think they should have. But I think Tokina was trying to grab some customers away from companies like DZO and Laowa. So I don't have an update on that, sorry. I missed the earlier parts of the stream. How did the Vespids optically and mechanically compare to the Pictor zooms? Are they well built? Yes, the Vespid primes are well built. Optically, we have not put any of these on the camera or on a test projector today. I have tested all of these optically off camera, and I have opinions, but I don't want to get into them too much because I can't back them up here on the stream. So we will definitely produce some content that shows the optical characteristics of these lenses. Just get an MK lens. I can't tell people that, oh, you have an MKX and you want the R? Buy a new lens. That makes me sound like a used car salesman. Sorry. What other questions? Zoom stick plus parfocal, great for dock and interview shooting. That is a good feature to point out. These zooms are parfocal, which has become a massive hot button topic for cinematographers these days. Which do you consider a nicer lens, the DZO or the Sigma Cine? Ooh, it depends on what you're doing. As far as build quality and features, there's no question that the Sigma is better. You have much higher image quality across every focal length. You have a much faster T1.5 aperture, with the exception of the wide and the long at T2. There's no question that the Sigma Cine primes are better than the DZO Vespid primes, but they're also, what, 3 times the price? Something like that. How can I make a Cine zoom lens so cheap? Again, economy of scale is the biggest factor here. When you take a zoom like this and you know that you can sell thousands of them, you can make thousands of parts and your costs go way down. Whereas compared to something like an Ingenue or a Cook, where they'll sell maybe hundreds of them, the costs to manufacture them are much higher. So I can't speak for the factory because I don't work for DZO, but from my experience in manufacturing lenses, that's the critical factor, is economy of scale. Not interested in the DZO stuff because I feel like there's no X factor. Knockoff vibe, am I wrong? They are not knockoffs, I will argue that. A lot of people assume that this prime, the Vespid prime, is the same thing as the Mavo primes, the Nisi prime, the Bokeh prime, the Nightcore prime. That's all a rebranded lens. It's all the same lens, just with different labels. This is not that lens at all. This is a new optical design. It's not really a knockoff of anything. I mean, if you're going to call it a knockoff, you could say, strictly based on the feature set, the closest thing you could compare this to would be a Schneider Xenon FF prime. But they have absolutely nothing in common. So, no, I don't consider this a knockoff just because it's Chinese. That I see where that sentiment comes from, and I understand that people are cautious of Chinese lenses or Chinese products. But between Laowa and DZO, I think that they are doing this the correct way and coming up with unique products that are not a knockoff. They're not a copy. I like the way that they are doing business. So I completely understand people's hesitation, but try to get over, how do I say this? I'd say set aside your preconceived notions of Chinese products, and look at it from a fresh perspective. Because the 50-100 Sigma Cine has quite the breathing. Yes, the 50-100 Sigma has a lot of breathing. There's no question about that. But the 50-100 and the Sigma Primes do not share that breathing characteristic, at least not to the same degree. Did you read about the Primes have a rear ND filter? I have heard that from several people. I don't know where they plan on putting that. There's no... I thought about it when I first heard that. There's no magnetic bits under here. There's no included magnets. There's no whatever. You can't magnetize to aluminum, so I don't know. And this is stainless steel, which is not really magnetic. No, it's not at all. The screws are more magnetic than the mount, but you obviously can't put something on the screws there because it has to be mounted to the camera. So I don't know how they plan on doing that rear filter. Maybe it's just this thread. We'll see. That would be nice, if you could just do that and then replace this with a filter. That's good enough for me. I would like that. I have a big doubt choosing between the DZO combo and Lysa. What? I don't know what you're saying. Andre, or retype your question and I'll answer it. Investing in Vista 1s, broadly speaking, I think it's a good call. Vista 1s are definitely a specialty lens. If you have another set that is sort of your A set, then yes, I think the Vista 1s are a good option. But I don't think they're good as a primary set. What a good music video lens for Blackmagic 6K. A good lens for music videos for Blackmagic 6K. Pretty much anything. That's a super vague question. I don't think there's anything you couldn't use to shoot a music video on a Blackmagic. You could use Canon L series and you'll still get a good result. Obviously, the more cinematic you want it to be, the better you'll be suited with a Cine lens. Misspoke. Vista Primes, not ones. The Vista Primes are a pretty safe bet because they're fast, they're full frame. As long as you can deal with the size and weight of the Vista Primes, otherwise you can spend less money and get similar characteristics in something like the Sigma Cine Primes that are also T15. You're gonna eke out that tiny bit of extra image quality, but at the cost of size and weight with the Vista Primes. So weigh those two options. DZO are parfocal. Yes, the pictor zooms are parfocal. The primes are not parfocal. Let's see if that goes. Let's see if people start complaining about the primes not being parfocal. I would start laughing if I see in the forums Matthew Duclos said that the primes aren't parfocal. Let's see if that happens. Go ahead, tell everyone that. Let's see. I have the photo version of the 5100, and oh my, the focus speed. Yeah, again, it's sad that the Sigma Cine 50-100 has become the poster child for focus breathing, and people automatically assume that's how all of their primes are. That's not the case. The primes do breathe, but it's not terrible at all. I love the flexibility of the 18-35 and 50-100, but the breathing, that just keeps coming up. Everyone notices the breathing on the 50-100. Yes, it's there, definitely. Choosing between DZO Zooms combo or Laowa what do you think? Ooh, that's a tough call. It would depend on a couple different things. It would depend on the camera that I'm using. So tell me what camera. Who was it that said that? Andre. If you're shooting on a PL mount camera like a Gemini or C300, or anything with a normal flange, I would probably go for the DZO zooms just because they're smaller and lighter. But again, if I was shooting something where I needed that range instantly, I would opt for the Laowa. If I'm shooting on something like a Red Komodo or a C70 or something mirrorless, I would hands down go for the Fujinon MK. Those have become my go-to zooms for mirrorless cinematography. Ursa Mini Pro 4.6K PL mount. Yeah, on the Mini with a PL mount, I would probably opt for the DZO zooms if I didn't need instant zoom range. If it was documentary stuff or I needed to be able to change my focal length instantly, I would go for the Laowa. If it was something where I could plan my shots a little bit better and I knew what I was going to need from scene to scene, I would choose the DZO because you have the luxury of swapping lenses when needed. DZO zoom needs to use rod support. If you're on the PL mount, no. I would say you could mount this to a PL camera without a problem. Obviously, it's better if you have lens support. It's going to be more reliable. If you're using this... Sorry, I'm getting low on fuel. If you're using these with the EF mount, you definitely need the lens support. No question about it. You absolutely have to use the lens support. I spoke with someone who said they were adapting their Super Takumars to LPL with custom mount from Les Boucher. Is that even possible? M42 to LPL. M42 to PL. It is possible, but your lens is going to sort of be inside your camera cavity. That's an odd one. Without a full rehousing, it would be very, very odd. If they're doing a full rehousing to LPL, then yeah, it'll work fine. With the MKs, is there a concern about play in the RF mount on the Komodo? I was just by default going the PL adapter route. So with our MKs, so the RF version of the MKs is a product that we developed. And in that process, we specifically designed it for the Komodo. That said, we did compensate for that flex. So the MKRs do feel really good on the Komodo. But as is the case with any bayonet style mount, it's strictly held in with a leaf spring. So you're always going to have some play no matter what the lens is, unless you have a positive locking bayonet mount, which the Komodo does not have. That's inevitable. It's simply the design of bayonet mounts. So E mount, Canon mount, EF mount, Nikon F mount, Micro Four Thirds, L mount, RF mount, all of those mounts, you're going to have that play. It's just part of the mount. It's inevitable. How does the contrast compare to the Fuji zooms? How does on the Pictor zooms, you mean? The Fuji zooms will be much more accurate and clean than the Pictor zoom. The Pictor zoom, similar to the Vespid primes, is going to have character. No question about it. Sorry to hijack. Have you got... Oh, hey, Phil. The other Phil. The UK Phil. Have you got any opinions on the Kip-On speed booster from Mamiya Secord to go to R-mount? I haven't seen their R-mount version, but I assume it uses the same glass, which is decent. It's not bad by any means. It's going to introduce a little bit more spherical and chromatic aberration, depending on the lens. But with the Mamiyas specifically, it should work pretty well. I know that the Kip-On speed booster is kind of debated. Personally, I enjoy it. I think it's a pretty good solution. But I know a lot of people that think that the image quality is not that great. So, depends on what you're shooting, I suppose. If you can deal with a little bit of image degradation, then the Kip-On is perfectly fine, I think. Have you tried MKR on C70 yet? I have. Oh. You were, where are you? Davidas, that was, you were the guy that was asking about the C70. I'm not technically allowed to talk about it. We had a, maybe I shouldn't talk about it then. Yes, I have tested the MKs on the C70. Is the future anamorphic adapter in the give it some extra points when comparing it against other zooms? No, I don't think so. So that's something that we should clarify with the So the anamorphic adapter is coming. It will be part of the kit. The anamorphic adapter is not going to be the groundbreaking solution that everyone expects. It is a rear anamorphic add-on. So you're essentially stacking a cylinder group behind the lens. So you're not going to have the typical anamorphic look. You're not going to have the giant streaking flares. You're not going to have the oval bokeh. It's simply going to give you a 2 times, or sorry, what was it? 1.4? I can't remember. Where did it go? Laowa. The full front, 1.33. So it's only going to give you a 1.33 squeeze. It's not going to give you all the other normal characteristics of a front anamorphic zoom. So keep that in mind. I had a Kip-On 0.7 EF to Micro Four Thirds and was horrible experience. Bad contacts after 1.5 years of soft use. Bad contacts? What do you mean by that? Like the electronics? If you're talking about the electronics, I don't think that Phil is going to be worried about that because he's going to pair it with the Mamiyas that don't have electronics. So, but that is definitely worth noting. Like I tried to make that clear that I have heard both sides. People love the Kip-On and some people just had terrible experiences. So thank you for that feedback. The more I play with this, the more I notice there's a tiny, tiny bit of lost motion, like half a line width, but that's negligible. What other questions? Did I miss anything? I think that's about it. How long are we going on here? What is my... I don't even know where my timer went. It doesn't show me my timer. I think this is about approximately good length for a YouTube live, but for Instagram live, I think it's gonna choke the system. Oh, there was a question. Oh, never mind. It's more people requests. Phil Holland wanted to join. Let's see if Phil still wants to join. I don't know if this is going to work. Oh, it's connecting. This is just Phil's car. Why are we looking at Phil's car? Okay. I don't even think he's there. How did it connect if he's not there? Hello from India. Hello. All right, I guess we'll try Phil later. Do you guys change the front element of Rokinon Cine DS lens? We can, yes. We do stock front and rear elements for Rokinon lenses. So, yep, we can do that. Sometimes it's more expensive than it's worth. You hack Phil's camera. That was weird. Does it just let you dial into anyone's video? That's so weird. Well, the people on YouTube have no idea what's going on because they can't see. The Instagram feed is different than the YouTube feed. If you had to pick one lens from the table to shoot a commercial, which would you pick? Oh, there's so many variables there. That's a good question, though. Ooh. I mean, personally, it's a very subjective question because everybody has a different style. Personally, I'm a primes guy. I love primes if the situation affords primes, meaning if I don't need to be nimble and I don't need to change my zoom, my focal length frequently, I prefer primes. Of these primes, so set aside the zoom. Let's see if I can get a better view here without them crashing into each other. Take the hood off the Irix because it's going to fall off anyway. There we go. Does that for Instagram it's kind of crammed, but you get the idea. Of these four, if I had to pick one to shoot a project on, oh my gosh, that's a tough question. Well, primarily it would depend on my camera. If my camera was PL, I obviously can't use the Rokinon, so that would be out. I would probably go with the Vespid Prime. Even though you have a faster T15 aperture on the Irix, I think the circular aperture on the Vespids is going to give nice enough bokeh that most people won't even tell that it's a slower lens. I have shot with these. I absolutely loved them. The image quality was, I mean, everything we discussed. There's a little bit of CA, there's a little bit of distortion, but for the type of stuff that I like, it was perfectly acceptable. It had just enough character to make it a little bit more real. It wasn't so clean and clinical. Yeah, I would probably go with the Vespid, to be completely honest. But again, that completely depends on the project. If it was something that was super lightweight and I could use an EF mount, I might actually go for the Rokinon just because it's so much lighter and it's T15. So those features alone would make it a good, strong contender. What do you think is going to be the tendency of lens for the next 2 years? Anamorphic, faster lens, vintage? Faster? No, I don't think. So as far as optical design, we're somewhat limited by physics. We've kind of capped that barrier. I don't think we're going to start seeing 0.95 primes across the board. And even if we did start seeing that, nobody's going to want them because it's just not practical. I shoot with 0.95 on Super 35. That's my go-to lens for my Fuji camera. I have an X Pro 2 that I shoot all my stills with. Most of the people here that know me in real life, like Phil, every time Phil sees me, I have my X Pro 2. It's a 35mm 0.95. So for photography, that is super. I love it. It's my go-to. It's fantastic. I could not imagine pulling focus constantly at 0.95. So as far as the trends go, it's not going to be faster. T1.5 should be the average, the normal fast lens. Anamorphic, I don't think is going to be the trend, or isn't going to be the continuing trend. I know it's trendy right now. Kubrick did it. No, he did not pull focus. He set the focus and that was it. I don't know that he actually racked focus in those shots. Oh, that's a good one to show you guys. Let me grab that. One moment. Okay, I'm back. Is that still running? Kubrick had to modify his camera. Yes, he definitely had to modify the camera significantly. So speaking of Kubrick, that is a Kubrick lens. This is a 50mm 0.7 from NASA, from Zeiss, designed for NASA originally. Get these out of the way. So again, we're bound by physics, and I don't anticipate everyone using lenses this large and this heavy. This is a chunk of lens. This is almost all glass. This is a huge piece of glass. In fact, the shutter is still open. There we go. There's the aperture. There is 0.7. How many lenses of this in the world? It's debatable, but I think there's 10 of these in the world. What's important to keep in mind that a lot of people love to talk about Barry Lyndon and Kubrick. This lens does not have a focus section. There is no way to focus it. It's strictly moving it to and from the film plane. This particular one is currently mounted to this Nikon camera, so you can just cock it and then release the shutter. Oh, that's not cocked. That's cocked. So the shutter's closed. Oh, I had it. There. You can't even see it. It's fast. It shows up for me, but on camera it doesn't really show up. So yeah, it's not practical by any means. But comparatively, if you think about, this is T1.5. It's not far off from 0.7. I mean, it is relatively speaking, but T1.5 is all you need for a good cinematic depth of field. Anything faster than that is just not really practical. I'll put that right there. If you guys want to look at it one more time, there you go. There with the aperture, with the shutter open. Giant glass. Huge. I would not want to be carrying this around on a project. Does that even show up? Probably not. I can't tell if it's showing up on camera. So there's just no way to practically focus a 0.7 lens. And then 0.95 is just, it's similarly challenging. So for still photography, it's doable, but you have to really know your focus. You have to really understand your focus movement. So I definitely don't think that lenses are going to become faster. Vintage, I think, is already in its prime, no pun intended. But yeah, I think vintage lenses will continue to become more desirable. Oh, you're back, Phil. Yeah, I could see it. Oh, good, you could see it. I'm doing DIY Russian scopes project that you don't want to carry around. Yeah, exactly. See, you can get cool looks and you can get unique styles, but there's a breaking point of practicality, and it completely depends on what you're prepared to take on. Phil, did you want to join the stream? We added you, but it was just your car seats. We had a nice view of your back seat. I don't know where you were. I think T4 to 8 are underutilized. I agree entirely. So the stuff that I shot with the DZO primes, I was primarily at T4. It's nice to have T2.1 or even T1.5 when you need it, but you have to weigh that practicality. Is your focus puller going to hate you because you're at such a shallow depth of field, or is it a one-man band kind of thing where you are the focus puller and you're fine with it? Just quality-wise, no concern about 2 lenses versus 1, but the image quality, versus pictures. That is a tough one, Cam Trucks. Strictly image quality-wise, between the and the picture zooms, that is a tough one. I couldn't answer that confidently without doing more side-by-side tests. They're that close. Oh, let's grab... How do I add Phil back here? Let's see if it works. Where are you? Where in the world is Phil? Are you back? Yeah, you're back. OKC Lomos, any opinions? There's Phil. Oh, so hey, Facebook cannot see this. Only Instagram sees it. So sorry if you're on YouTube. Sorry, I said Facebook. If you're on YouTube, you cannot see Phil, but he's on Instagram here. Where are you? I hope you're not driving.
I'm about to be driving. I'm about to come home from location. We just wrapped. And why I was out of my car was I was saying goodbye to my producer.
Oh.
But yeah, I was just going to mention, there's something really interesting about the modern times we're in, where we have lenses that are very affordable now, extremely affordable. And it seems like most recently it's been an interesting season of zooms with a few primes in there, I guess being the later year trend. But, there's an interesting thing to say about the difference between a $2,500 lens and maybe like a $40,000 lens, if you're talking about like the Permistas. And it's an incredible value for filmmakers. Like, I kind of wish this is the way things were 10 years ago, honestly, when I, was first like investing in glass, because it would be an easier place to start financially. So yeah, I just think it's actually quite impressive. And the most interesting thing, at least for the inexpensive zooms, I just wanted to say was, if you look at the DZOs, and that's not an inexpensive lens that you have there.
Oh, no. That's why I'm putting the cap back on. I don't want to leave it unexposed.
Yeah. The DZOs.
Anybody want to guess the value, by the way?
Shorter range. And the Laowa is kind of like what I always refer to as a one banger zoom, where you have 25 to 100 is a big range on it, which allows you to do a lot with it. And I think that's what's separating a lot of these things right now, is the individual use case. I think the new prime wars of this really entry-level price point for around T2 or T2.1 glass is very interesting, and I think that's going to be something for a lot of C70, Komodo, all these people looking for smaller lenses. I mean, even on bigger bodies, because the DZOs are and all these can cover full frame. It's a very interesting thing. So
yeah,
a really exciting time for glass, and I'm pretty pumped about it. So
I think that putting these out, like the Meike, like the Laowa, doing T21 full frame, I think it's a great foundation for these companies that are up and coming. And I think if they do well and they're well accepted in the industry, we'll see faster, maybe one might say even more professional options from companies like Meike and DZO. There's nothing stopping them from making faster, bigger, heavier lenses, but obviously with that will come a higher price tag. So it's easier to start with something like a T21.
I agree. I was watching some of the questions pop up in the stream, and one person asked, how do the DZOs compare to the Sigma Cine primes? And to me, those sets of lenses are so different.
Oh, yeah.
Not just in lens speed. You have a stop faster on the Sigmas, generally speaking. But the look is so
completely different. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously a different price as well, and that plays a factor. So I just hope people look deeper at what they're investing in and what their needs are. The DZOs are interesting to me because they're the most compact lenses that I can get for Vista Vision of a full cinema set.
Yeah.
And my primary camera is Monstro, so that is very appealing to me. Highly appealing to me.
Yeah, the fact that these lenses work well, the fact that they work well and they cover Monstro, I mean, there's really no reason. You could genuinely use these on anything from an Alexa LF to Monstro all the way down to Blackmagic or a GH7 or something, or GH4 or GH5. There's nothing that like the DZO or even the Meike can't do, which I think is really unique. It used to be, if you had a cheap lens, you couldn't really use it on a high-end camera. But they really have sort of bridged that huge gap.
Awesome. And I did just use the Laowa 12mm, and that continues to be one of my favorite ultra-wides.
I thought about including that in this, but it's not really new, so I didn't want to...
No.
Then again, neither is the Kuba.
They did a good job of making the cinema version of that, though. I really appreciate actually having the 114 outer diameter.
Yeah.
Instead of some of the people who actually converted it and didn't put the hood on there. Just makes it 10 times more usable. Which
is the same thing they did with the The front's some weird random size, but the lens comes with a slip-on, for like a front ring, so you could use a common size matte box.
Yes, I do remember that in Vortex, yes. People talking about projects that shouldn't be talked about on stream. But that's awesome. I agreed with you on the caps. I mean, where you started discussing the round cap of the Irix. That Irix 45 is such a great lens, and it's unbeatable at its price. But the
It is.
slip-on rear cap.
They just need more
bulb
focal
cap.
lengths. It's not a viable option with one focal length. And yes, they have the 150 macro, and they have the 15 and the what's the other wide
Little
one?
Bird told me
The
that
11.
they have at least 2 more focal lengths coming that are fast like that.
Yeah, they're trying to work on normal focal lengths, but there's just something out there right now. It's not appealing because there's not a full set, and the same could be said for the Meike. It's one lens, so it's tough.
Well, they got a full set. They've announced the full set though.
Meike?
Meike.
Yeah,
I think
they have a roadmap, but that's not much.
Yeah, I think the keys to success is a minimum of 3 to 5 focal lengths at launch if you're going to launch a prime set. Just doing one is kind of odd.
Right.
And highly unappealing to cinematographers, honestly. The only reason I got the Irix was that specific focal length on Monstro, as well as me just being curious of what the lens was. I can shoot. It's a general focal length, kind of like the Tokina 40 or the Sigma 40. It's
like an in-between.
Dual focal length.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Phil, I'm going to let you go because I got people on YouTube that have no idea what's going on. So.
Hi, YouTube.
Yeah.
And have a great Saturday.
All right. Take care, Phil.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. That was our cameo for the day. So a couple other questions from YouTube. Oh, Brian Murray, hi. Haven't seen you since NAB 2 years ago, I think. What is the 35mm 0.95 use? My go-to, I almost always have it with me, and coincidentally today I don't. But on my X Pro 2, it's a Midicon. Actually, mine's not even branded Midicon because I got it directly from China. Sorry, let me get the desk here. It's a Zhongyi 35mm 0.95. They're Speedmaster. I absolutely love that lens. It's primarily for my personal photography, mostly my daughter's, and people constantly confuse it for medium format. So I love it. But it's also worth noting that that's the only lens that has been on my X Pro 2 for probably 3 years or something like that. So as far as manual focusing goes, it's like an extension of my hand. So I've gotten used to it. What about Rokinon's image quality nowadays? I remember 10 years ago their photo lens wasn't so good. So like I said much earlier, Igor, the glass in this Rokinon DSX lens is exactly the same as it was 10 years ago. There is no difference. I don't know if they're actually 10 years old, but if you bought their $250 photo version, the optics remain the same. So take that for what it's worth. About the Kubrick lens, were only 10 made according to Wikipedia, 6 for NASA, 3 for Kubrick. That's wrong. There were 10 made, I believe. As far as I know, there were 4 that went to Kubrick. There were 2 that he ended up using for Barry Lyndon. A wide and a long, I can't remember. I think it was 35 and a 50. And then they tried to make a wider one that was supposed to be like a 24, and they ended up scrapping it. Cinema Products ended up scrapping it because it just wasn't the quality that Kubrick wanted. And then they had one extra that they essentially kept for parts because they knew that Zeiss wasn't going to make more. If something went wrong on set, they had to be able to harvest parts from the lens. So as far as I know, Kubrick owned, or at least his production company bought 4 of them. And then the rest of them remained with Zeiss, one of which is the one that I have here. Remained with NASA. How much is your Kubrick lens worth? It's hard to say. This is actually the second model that I've had. Ballpark, maybe between 100 and 200,000 ish, but it's hard to say because there's so few of them and it's so rare. It's really whatever someone's willing to pay for it. Which lenses do you think will be the next big thing for rehousing? Leica R is old news. Olympus OM is rising in price daily. Yeah. Thanks, Alex. Is there a set you think is sleeper? Ooh, I get that question a lot. A sleeper set of lenses. I would say that the OM would have been my answer. But you're right, because Alex is finally wrapping up that conversion. Those are starting to skyrocket in price. I would say the Mamiya Secor C are still kind of a sleeper. We're starting to see more of them, but they're still not in the quantities that we see Leica R and Zeiss contacts. So I anticipate those being a little more popular soon. It's not the first one. No, this is the second Kubrick lens. I can't. It's hard to call it. Everyone knows it as the Kubrick lens, but this one never belonged to Kubrick. So when I say Kubrick lens, I mean the Zeiss 50mm 0.7 lens. I love the Secor C look. Yeah, Secor Cs are fantastic lenses if you can get over their speed. They're not the fastest. For narrative film work, Komodo, Vespid Prime, or MK zooms? Ooh, for narrative, that's tough. That's a really good question. It would depend on the setup. I love primes, but in this case, comparing those two, there's not really a benefit because they're both T21. Oh, sorry, the Fujinon's T29. I might go with the MK just because you don't have to deal with adapters and potentially missing a shot because your focus marks aren't lined up correctly. Yeah, I would lean towards the MKR specifically for Komodo just because there's no extra adapters to deal with. Okay, now I'm jumping back to Instagram. Lots of Mamiya 80 f1.9 rear elements are foggy. Have you found this? I see a lot of fog in a lot of Mamiya lenses. They weren't really cared for that well. I would love to own the Zeiss f7. Yeah, it's fun. It's not practical at all. It can't be used on any modern camera. My favorite is Kinoptic 9.8. Ooh, radioactive lenses. Most of the Kinoptics are they kind of spike on a Geiger counter, so be careful. How this lens on table compared to Tokina Cine in terms of look? Tokina, so of all, well, let's see. Yeah. If I had to rank them in image quality order, let's see, Rokinon will probably down here, then Meike, then DZO, and then Irix. As far as character goes, and when I say character, I mean things like spherical aberration, chromatic aberration. There's your order, being best to worst. And if you threw Tokina in here, they would be way over here. Tokina is going to be way more clean, way more clinical than any of these. So there you go. NFD or Leica R, what do you like? Oh, Leica R all the way for me. But that's subjective. That's very personal. Do you know when the DZOFilm primes ship? They are shipping very soon. Actually, it might have been pushed just a bit. Originally, they had said November, just kind of loose. But it's looking like the DZO primes, where they go? The Vespid primes will ship from the factory at the end of November, so they will probably arrive stateside if you're in the US early December. I think it's better to view these down. There we go. I don't want them to hit each other. It's amazing how Tokina and Sigma grew as an alternative now in cine versions. Yeah, no, they, especially Sigma, both of them, I guess you could say, but Sigma took a hard right turn back in, was it the early 2010s when they announced their global vision. They went from being sort of a, the budget third-party brand to really setting the bar. When Sigma started making some of their art lenses, that really kicked Nikon and Canon into gear, and they had to actually start making improvements on their products. I just realized our sound is gone. Our music is gone. So if you're enjoying the modernization and the enhancements from Canon and Nikon and Sony, you have Sigma to thank for a lot of that. They really sort of put things into perspective for the big lens makers. Hey man, I just wanted to say thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. Zeiss contacts. Ah, no problem, Max. Thank you for sending them in. As more options come in, are Sigma Primes still a good investment? I think so. I think even with all of these options here, Sigma Primes still have a drastic benefit. So you could compare them to something like either of these, the Meike or the DZO, but you're going to get a much cleaner picture with the Sigma. You're going to get a much faster aperture with the Sigma. And to some degree, you're going to get more reliability. If there's an issue with a Sigma, they have a presence here in the US. They have a corporate headquarters in the US, whereas these two, depending on where you buy them from, if you buy either of these from a normal retailer, there's no support. You're going to have to go back and forth with the headquarters in China, which is a challenge. So that is definitely worth something to some people. I just managed to get my Vespa demo set. Looking forward to testing them. I didn't know you could get a demo set. I mean, I have a demo set, but I didn't know they were offering demo sets. What are the main difference between Leica R19mm version 1 and version 2? Is the version 1 too soft for narrative shoots? That's a very subjective question again. If you need a cleaner image, then the version 2 has a clear benefit as far as image quality goes. The version 2 is also a little easier to work with because it doesn't have that massive 82mm front. The image quality in the version 2.19 is significantly better than the version 1. Even Contorex are now adapted by GL, not the Super Speeds as far as I know. GL will convert anything. But you get what you pay for with GL. I shouldn't say that. GL has definitely improved their mechanical designs in the last 5 years. I'll give them that. How about the SLR Magic Micro Primes Apo? How do they compare? I have limited experience with the Hyper Primes. I assume you're talking about the Micro Primes. Again, very limited experience. I haven't seen those in person for maybe, actually at this point, almost a year. So I would definitely need to pull up my old footage, evaluate that footage, and get a better idea. I haven't looked at the results of those in a long time. That, or I need to get another set in here and do side-by-side comparisons. So I can't answer that honestly. I don't want to make something up. So, but strictly based on my memory, the Vespid, is that what you're asking? I think somebody had asked about the Vespid. The Vespid will perform better than the SLR Magic overall. Sorry, Matt, you have missed my question about Rocors above. What did I miss? Where's Rocor? Ask your question again. I did not see that. Oh, I see it. I'm sorry. How do you feel about Minolta Rocor? Zero Optic announced the 5812. They said the rest are coming. I feel at this pace, all vintage glass will be adapted. Probably. Zero Optic is doing fantastic work. The quality of Alex's designs is fantastic. There's nothing stopping him from converting any lens he wants. At this point, I think it's just a matter of manpower. So personally, I love the Rocor 5812. Sorry. It's fantastic. It doesn't necessarily match up with the rest of the Rocors, but for that specific lens, people love it. So I don't see why he wouldn't do. I know he's doing the The Rocors, I think he's doing the FDs, which should be very popular. I need to check back in with him. I haven't talked to him for a while, but pretty much anything he does mechanically, you can bet on it being solid, a good choice. So if you like the image quality from the lens, it's only going to get better with a zero optic rehousing. What cinema camera sensor makes you say, wow? I don't know. I don't really care about cameras. I care about lenses. I think all cameras can be tweaked to look good, and it's more important how you light and lens your image than it does what sensor you put it on. I used, for example, one of the most interesting cameras that I shoot with from time to time is a Sigma SD. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember the name. I can't remember. It's the very first Foveon sensor. It's a super low resolution, but if you light it well and you put a good lens on it, it's still fantastic image quality. I don't think there's a bad sensor these days. Black Friday, question mark, heart? I don't think we're doing much for Black Friday this year. I saw a lot of people in the DZO group that were waiting for Black Friday sales, but the DZOs aren't even shipping yet, so don't bet on a sale for lenses that haven't even been released. Can I demo them on your shop? Potentially. So for anyone that isn't familiar with our shop, so we're in Chatsworth in Southern California. We've been closed. Our office inside has been closed to the public since March, since the lockdown here in LA. We're still fully operational. We're just not letting guests inside the building. So we might do some kind of like parking lot demo thing, but we're being really strict about it. And there's a lot of other retailers that are kind of ignoring everything that's going on with the pandemic, and they're doing in-person demos, and I think that's extremely irresponsible. So we'll see, maybe. What about Lomocrons? I saw the Lomocrons, and they're very cool. Looking to buy my first set of lenses. What would you suggest for docks that I can get for under 8K? That's a very loaded question. Depends on the mount, depends on the sensor format. If you're shooting with PL or EF and you're on Super 35, honestly, I'd recommend the Pictor zooms. It's hard to beat those. Do you see the LPL mount catching on for both cameras and lenses? I do not. Oh, Cine Mechanic, is that you, Steve? S8 filter equals question mark millimeters. Are you asking about Series 8? If you're asking about Series 8, it's not a straight millimeter conversion. It's a different thread altogether, which is why they call it Series 8 and not 50 whatever millimeters. Yes. Hey, Steve. Fantastic rental house for anybody that's watching. Steve Spears, Cine Mechanics. I don't anticipate LPL catching on. I think Arri is giving it everything they can because of their LPL cameras, but with the quantity of PL glass out there, and the fact that the Alexa LF still ships with a PL mount, I don't anticipate it catching on any. Well, I think PL lenses will still be the standard, and LPL will sort of be an afterthought or maybe an add-on. What do you think about the Lomo Illumina primes? I think the Lomo Illumina primes are dangerous. They're typical Lomo build quality. They certainly have an interesting picture, and some people like that sort of quality, but I don't like them mechanically or optically, personally. DP Quattro. No, not the DP Quattro. The first Foveon sensor. I think it was the SD5. Now I have to look it up. First Foveon. 2002, I believe. SD9. Sorry, that's what it was. The SD9. It's 2002-ish. So the benefit of the Foveon is it has those 3 layers, the red, green, and blue. So you had really, really accurate, really nice image color characteristics. I can't find the resolution. The camera did not have a good resolution. As far as I know, it didn't sell well. But my point is that you can take a camera with a lackluster sensor, and if you give it good light and a good lens, you can make beautiful pictures. That's all the point of that was. It was the first Foveon camera that Sigma released. I can't find the resolution. It was low. Point being, you don't need... your camera is not going to determine the quality of your project at all. I lost my place here. I have the Minolta 5812. Love the images. Or you mean the newer SD? No, this is the old SD. How did the DZO stack up against higher end glass? You get what you pay for. They have definitely lowered the bar as far as price goes. So yeah, they will perform well compared to higher priced lenses with similar specs. How do you find the Meike? I would say rewind this video and check my opinion on the Meike. Have you seen the Zelmus anamorphics? I have not seen them in person. I've been talking with them for a while, and I know that they're starting to ramp up production, but I couldn't give you an honest opinion on those yet. Is your store open for demo? Technically, no. We're not allowing guests inside the building. All of our staff is still here every day. Our service department's fully operational. Our modifications are operational. Sales are fully operational. We're just not letting customers or guests in the building. So the more that people ask, the more I'm considering doing some sort of parking lot event where people can come visit and try out the DZO, because I know there's a lot of questions about the DZO. So maybe, we'll see. Not to sound like a commercial, but if we do something like that, we'll announce it on our newsletter. So go to duclos.tv/sign-up, and that's the best place to go. What do you think of the Blackwing 7, and what tuning do you prefer? I know it depends on the project. The Blackwings are... I like the idea of offering sort of unique tuning per lens. I don't know how well it's going to hold up as a business model long term, but the lenses themselves I like. I like the build quality is okay. Serviceability is great. We've been working with Blackwing or with Tribe 7. We are an authorized service facility for their lenses, and I very much like how the lenses are built. As far as the different tunings go, yeah, it completely depends on what you're looking for. But there was a short film on Netflix. Oh my gosh, Anima? No. Maybe that's what it's called, Anima. I can't remember, but it was shot on the Tribe lenses, the Blackwings, and it's an excellent example of what those lenses are capable of. I can go demo in a hazmat suit. That's the cost of admission. You have to bring a hazmat suit. No, we're just trying to make sure that our staff is as safe as possible. We don't want to... We already are being cautious, but then exposing our staff to random people, we're trying to do everything we can. Have you ever tried the Siri 35? I tried it for a moment, and I wasn't a huge fan. I won't say more than that. I got in some trouble for the Vazen video that I did, which I don't even know if that's still on our YouTube. I might have taken it down, but it was sort of the test I did of a live, sort of real-time camera lens test on YouTube, and I didn't have great things to say about either of those, so I don't know if those are still up. But if they are, you can watch it and see what you think. All right, I think I will probably call it there, unless we have other questions. Actually, just for funsies, everybody that's watching either on YouTube or on Instagram, do a quick sound off of what city or what country you're watching from, because that's always interesting, and I like to see the variety, because it really does show that lenses are a global interest. Like, there's no corner of the world that doesn't enjoy lenses. Ukraine, that's awesome. Venice, Florida. Okay, Norway. Oh, we have 2 people from Ukraine. Igor and Max, nice. Boston, Africa, Spain, very cool. What else? New York, Atlanta. So everyone on Instagram is in the US. Oh, Auckland, okay. New Zealand, Los Angeles, Brazil, Puerto Rico, Italy, Berlin. See, this is fantastic. Everybody's a lens geek. We're all over the world. That's awesome. Wisconsin, Bogota, Colombia. Where else? Sao Paulo, Miami, Toronto. Very cool. Tehran, very cool. See, everywhere. All right, I'm probably going to call it there. If you guys have other questions, let's see. If you're watching on YouTube, what's the best place to send you? I would say if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you follow us on Facebook. It's just facebook.com/DuclosLenses. And you can definitely follow up there with questions. YouTube's not the best place to leave comments because I may not see all of them intermixed with all this, but you can put questions in the comments section. Thanks for the great work on my 8R. That's a fun lens for service. That's a chunk of a lens. And then for Instagram, you can obviously just drop questions, DMs to Duclos Lenses there. Yeah. Make sure to like the stream. Oh, yeah. Please do. Yeah, we only started streaming once the pandemic hit and we went into lockdown. So our numbers are definitely not where they should be. So if you're watching on YouTube, just hit subscribe, all the usual stuff. I'm not going to force anyone to ring the bell, but if you want to, go ahead. And then Instagram, yeah, our following on Instagram is way bigger than it is on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, go over to if you're on Instagram, go over to YouTube, give us a follow, vice versa. And yeah, hopefully we can do another on-camera test and show you visually the differences between the lenses. So thank you guys again. It will probably be on next Saturday.